Recently had one where there was no vesting. It was just two names on title, no vesting.
You don't know how they held it.
We don't know how they held it.
This is Las Vegas Real Estate Now with local real estate expert Harvey Blankfeld.
Let's ask Rick about some title stories. I want to hear some stories about title issues you've been dealing with
Tell
lately.
us something interesting.
There's a lot of things that come across my desk that we look at and we just shake our heads like, why did you do that?
Okay.
I recently had one where the lady had half of her house in a trust and the other half was in her own name. And she passed away. And everyone's up in arms saying that it doesn't have to go to probate, it's in a trust.
Yeah.
Well,
That half is.
half's going to probate, the other half, you guys can do whatever the trust says.
Right.
I
Wow.
recently had one where there was no vesting. It was just two names on title, no vesting.
You don't know how they held
We
it.
don't know how they held it. So we'll just call it Mr. and Mrs. were on title. No vesting. So it didn't read Mr. and Mrs. at joint tenants, community property, rights of survivors. It had nothing.
Just their
Mr.
names.
and
Common,
Mrs.
anything.
Okay. So it was definitely human error at the title company level. And what happened was they filled out the vesting form. They requested the vesting, and it never made it from the vesting form to the deed.
Oh.
So they actually went back 10 years later. So this is from 2012. They re-recorded the deed from 2012
Okay.
with the correct vesting based on the vesting instructions that they had signed by the buyer from
Dated
2012.
from 2010. Wow.
Wow.
The county then requests documentation. Why are you doing this?
Right.
Okay, well, they said, here's why, here's the documentation, and the county passed on it.
Okay.
So now we got the escrow on the sale,
Right.
and we were able to wait for that deed to get recorded, and we were able to move forward.
What was
with-
the interference today that you were running
One
into?
of the spouses passed away.
Oh.
And the missus passed away. The Mr. basically said, I shouldn't have to go to probate. I'm joint tenants. And I showed him the deed, and he said, oh. I said, you have
Oops.
two options. Call this attorney for probate and get their opinion.
Get a court to sign off on it, right?
Or go back and call the title company and say, hey, you messed up. Can you fix this? And,
Yeah.
and I told them, I said, that's a long shot. Lo and behold, they had it 10
Good for
years
them.
later.
Good for them.
They were able to do it. The bottom line is one, from my first story, don't do things by yourself without checking with somebody. And I'm sorry, I'm not an attorney, but there's two rules out there. There's the law, which attorneys practice, and there's title insurance, which we sell.
Right.
And I'm not going to sell title insurance to something I can't insure, no matter what your attorney says.
You've been listening to Las Vegas Real Estate Now. If you ever have a question about real estate or any of the other topics we cover, just call me off air or text me at 702-203-1165. You can also check us out on the web at lvrealestateradio.com or on our handle on social media at LV Real Estate Radio.